Introducing you to people across North Carolina and around the world who put their Catholic faith into action. This is FaithWorks on Catholic 540 AM Divine Mercy Radio. Now, here's your host for FaithWorks, Ellen White.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of FaithWorks on Divine Mercy Radio. Our show highlights individuals through God's grace who put their faith into action daily. Amazing people who have an interesting, sometimes overlooked impact on our Catholic faith. On FaithWorks, we share their stories. I'm your host, Ellen White. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by the Sisters of Life, Sisters Veritas and Sister Anne, a religious community of women dedicated to proclaiming the sacredness of every human life. But what brings them here today is their phenomenal podcast, Let Love. If you haven't listened yet, you are missing out. This season, their Lenten message of leisure is incredibly timely. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more and fill every moment, the sisters offer a powerful reminder that leisure, true leisure, isn't about escapism. It's about making space for God, beauty, and what truly matters. Sisters, welcome to the show. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation.
Oh, thanks, Ellen. It's a real gift to be with you.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So let me hear from both of you. So Sister Veritas, who is that on the other end? Let me hear you.
I'm Sister Veritas.
Okay, Veritas. Okay, and Sister Anne?
This is Sister Anne. Yeah, thanks, Ellen.
Okay, great. All right. So welcome to you both. And let's see, either one of you, I guess you can point to each other as you're sitting next to each other. Can you start by introducing yourselves, maybe a short rendition of your call to the religious life and telling us a little bit about the Sisters of Life for those that might not be familiar?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Ellen. So this is Sister Anne speaking. So I grew up Catholic, but had like a real reversion in my faith when I got to college, and really just opened my heart to God's will and began to ask, Lord, like, how did you create my heart to love? You know, how do you want me to live this spousal place in my heart that desires to lay itself down, that desires to give itself wholly to another person? How do you desire, Jesus, that I live my maternal love, where I can carry souls in my heart? And as I began to really ask these questions and bring them before the Lord in prayer, I really felt the Lord inviting me to give my whole heart to him, that this place of bridal love would be given to him alone, and that my heart in maternity would carry souls as Our Lady did. And really it was, at a wedding in particular, seeing the beauty of spousal love between man and wife, that I really felt the Lord put this invitation in my heart. So I met the sisters when I was a senior in college, and surprisingly, but with great joy, felt the invitation placed deeply within me, and a desire to respond. And Sisters of Life, I think just put simply, we exist for you. We exist that every heart, that your heart will know how deeply sacred you are, how absolutely treasured, how wanted and desired you are by the heart of God. You have a place in his heart, that there is nothing within you or within your story that is beyond his mercy, beyond his hope, that there is always new life in Jesus Christ. And so sisters who really live that this truth will be proclaimed, that every person would know this. And we do this by our prayer life first, but we also have works of mercy that kind of flow from this. So we accompany women who are pregnant and vulnerable to abortion. We help them to choose life for themselves and for their child, material, spiritual, emotional support. We have a home where they live with us. We have a retreat mission, evangelization mission, which is where we have the podcast. Veritas and I get to be on it, which is a joy. And then we have a really beautiful mission of mercy, of accompanying women who have experienced abortion and are really seeking the healing that Jesus desires for every human heart. And we really watch, chains fall and shackles be broken in the presence of the heart of Jesus, and new life be given in hope and healing.
Oh, that message certainly comes through in the podcast, Sister Anne. Thank you so much for that. So, Sister Veritas, tell us a little bit about yourself And then I want to hear from you about how many, you're not just in Colorado, correct? Aren't you all over? You've got a place, I know, in New York. So introduce yourself, Sister Veritas, and then tell us about where you're located across the United States.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm Sister Veritas, originally from Canada, and just briefly, I basically fought God's call to religious life for like 10 years. I just kept saying no. And then, just had this deeper conversion, and he really wooed my heart. And in this moment of surrender, I felt this joy and this peace I had never felt before. And I felt more myself in that moment of surrender than I ever felt before. Mm-hmm. And from that moment, just really began discerning religious life. And my friend told me about the Sisters of Life, and it just so deeply resonated with my heart, and the truth of the beauty of the human person and reverencing life. And just really felt called. So I entered right after I finished college, and the adventure only has just begun, Mm-hmm. So it's pretty awesome. But it's beautiful because our community, we're kind of all over the U.S. We were founded in New York, so we have about 7 or 8 convents in New York. And then we're also in Connecticut, in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Canada, Phoenix, and Denver. So kind of spreading out, which is really beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it seems like it just continues to grow and grow and grow. Do you have any novices in the order this year?
We have, I think, 13 novices.
Okay.
11 novices.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I know it's expanding.
Number, but and then we have 9 postulants, which is great. So
okay.
God is very kind.
Yes, definitely blessing this order. And for more information about the Sisters of Life, we'll mention where you can get that information and really dive into their work and what they do. Let's dive into your podcast. And the two of you are hosts. You're missing another sister, I know, who is unwell this morning, and we're certainly praying for her. But It really has been a true blessing to me, and the message of leisure that you shared resonates deeply. What inspired you to explore this topic, especially in the context of Lent?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it doesn't seem like a natural, like your first inclination of like Lent, leisure. It's like that doesn't seem to fit. But it's interesting. We do a lot of evangelization around the country, and we visit a lot of college campuses, and we kind of have just seen increasingly just people, there's just kind of frenetic activity. Mm-hmm. And even among college students, even among missionaries on campuses, like there's just go, and there's no rest, no stop. And talking to many people, it's like this experience of, I don't know how to rest. I don't know how to leisure. There's a guilt about it. I feel guilty, like it's a waste of time. And I think and even examining our own lives too, like I definitely have had a conversion to leisure myself in my own life, and realizing that in this culture of kind of where our worth we feel is from what we can do or produce or achieve, right? There's little room for stopping, for resting, and actually it's so essential because and even in the 10 Commandments, right? Like the Lord, He doesn't just suggest leisure or the Sabbath, like He commands it. Like it's so important to His heart that we leisure. And so I think we just really wanted to help people regain a sense of the importance of that and the essentialness of that in order to be fully human, fully alive.
Yeah, and recognizing it during the Lenten season, and it goes hand in hand with a message I received during a homily from a beloved priest last year who said, we need to rest in being, not in doing. So, you're talking about doing, and especially in the Western regions and in our culture, you benefit so much, or we feel like we benefit so much from getting that checkbox at the end of the day for everything that we, feel like we needed to contribute, but not just in resting in who we are. That message comes across so beautifully in your podcast. Talk a little bit about that, recognizing who we are in the eyes of God.
That's awesome, Ellen. Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head, that it's so tied up with our identity, because if we we identify ourselves with our work, it becomes, I am a worker. And so if I'm not doing something or I'm not producing something, then there can feel, we can question, am I worth anything? Am I good? Do I have to earn my goodness? Do I have to earn who I am in the eyes of others? And there can be a sort of restlessness when we stop work because we don't know how to simply be. And to know that without doing anything, you are so good, so worthy of love, so profoundly desired and wanted, and you're more than the things that you do. And so when we stop and allow ourselves simply to be, I think it can really reorient our vision of who we are, but also kind of reorder our priorities in life and reorder how we see ourselves and others. So really, I love what you're saying. And I think it's so beautiful that your heart is even recognizing that, Ellen, of, the priority of being overdoing. Our founder would talk about that, and how God, I think, really wants to reclaim that in our culture in a very real way at this time.
Well, and, for many, Lent is about giving up things. So how can we view leisure as something we gain or practice more intentionally during the season?
Mm-hmm. Well, leisure is about allowing God to love us, actually. Yes. And, true leisure, it's like, we're not talking about like a vacation or just simply a break, right? Leisure is a condition of the soul. Joseph Pieper talks about that in his great work, Leisure, the Basis of Culture, right? It's like this contemplative beholding of life that allows us to take in the world as a whole. And so that's like, it's kind of like it's not time off, it's like time into the deeper realities. It's stepping back and like opening ourselves to the beauty of God. And so when we're talking about leisure too, we're not talking about entertainment, right? So we're not talking about like binging on Netflix or video games or like social media. That's more like entertainment. True leisure is like art or listening to good music or creative writing or walking in nature, things that actually like engage our whole person, right? Mm-hmm. That lift us to the Lord. And that is like, that's kind of like the ultimate goal of Lent, right? Like the Lord wants to be Lord of our whole person. He wants to redeem every part of us. And in leisure, we actually give him more permission to access us and to be in touch with he who is being.
Okay, so I have to say at the outset that there are so many things that you are mentioning that are explained more deeply in your podcast. So I highly recommend listeners that you tune into that. Again, it's Let Love and their Lenten podcast series on leisure. And you mentioned Joseph, is it Pieper? How do you spell his last name?
Pieper.
Okay, and it's Leisure, the Basis of Culture, the book that he wrote. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I really want to pick up a copy of this now because and the timing of when he wrote this work and how it coincides with what was going on in the world at that time is such a profound combination, and the message just speaks more deeply because of that and because of what we're going through now here too. So again, I highly recommend that you check out the podcast because the sisters do such a beautiful job really explaining and going into detail about the different points about leisure and why and who we are, and really what our reason for being is. Okay, so leisure throughout the year. So we just talked about leisure during Lent. Now, throughout the year, while Lent is a specific season for penance, how can the practice of leisure be a part of our lives even beyond this Lenten season? Give us some practical pointers on that.
That's a great question, Ellen. And I think, again, you're touching on something that it's just, so important because it's one thing to talk about it, and then it's another thing to try to, make it a part of our daily life. And I think, our hope to introduce it here in Lent is that it wouldn't just end with Lent. It would be the beginning of the rest of one's life. And so, practically, as sisters, we take leisure every day, intentional times of recreation. And so I would encourage, honestly, every listener to say, okay, are there spaces in my schedule where, gosh, if I added up all those little times where I start scrolling on my phone, would that add up to a half hour or an hour a day? And most people might say yes. And so, gosh, could I pull back, on those little touches to my phone, or could I pull back on those little moments where I'm, tempted to just go to the internet or social media, and can I make space and add an extra portion of leisure within my day, so to really block off and to protect it. Sometimes with leisure too, you kind of have to use your elbows in a way, because when we're stressed and when we're busy, really the first thing to go is usually leisure. And then the second thing to go is my prayer life. And so leisure is almost like the first line of defense to a healthy prayer life. And it's so important to recognize that leisure is so essential, not only to the fullness of life, but entering into a deeper relationship with God. Because if I'm go, go, go every day, then when I get to prayer or get to Mass, I'm also going to be go, go, go. And so we just want to challenge people and really encourage you and invite you to find pockets within your day, and even just to start with a half an hour, or start with an hour where you can step aside and say, I'm going to go for a walk with no headphones in, or I'm going to turn off the radio in the car, or I'm going to, sit down with my child as they color this morning and do some art with them, or I'm going to go for a hike with my family, whatever it looks like, to find ways to really do something that isn't productive and useful, but is good simply because it is.
Beautifully said. If you're just tuning in, this is Ellen White with FaithWorks on Divine Mercy Radio. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sister Veritas and Sister Anne with the Sisters of Life about a number of things, but primarily about their amazing podcast, Tune In, Let Love, and the importance of leisure. We are grateful for our show's sponsor, Thales College. Okay, so the next section I was going to talk to you about was actually defining leisure. You kind of touched on that a little bit in the beginning. I think that was you, Sister Veritas. Not as the world sees it, but as we see it. Spend a little bit more time from a spiritual perspective, what that is. So you talked about, the arts, creative writing, walking in nature. For somebody that just has no clue what that is, they go from thing to thing to thing to thing, check their phone as soon as they get up in the morning, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, going out, checking their phone while they're eating lunch. I mean, there's just no headspace for a break in a conversation with God. Help us to see what that truly means and not how the world defines leisure.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, no, I mean, leisure, and again, Joseph Pieper talks about this in his book. He talks about that leisure is not the attitude of one who intervenes, but the one who opens himself. Not of someone who seizes, but of one who lets go. So it kind of flies in the face of a need for control. It's actually like letting go of control and letting God love us, right? And so we kind of talk about two things, like things we do that are true leisure, but then also just living in a posture of true leisure. And each need each other, right? In order to live in a posture of true leisure, we need to make actually time for leisurely things and vice versa, And the whole point of leisure, making time for leisure, it's not even thought as a means to an end. I'm not going to take leisure, for the sake of feeling rested or relaxed. It's actually because it's awesome and good in itself. And there's it's almost like the side effect is rest, is relaxation.
Yeah.
But in itself, we are actually seeking and receiving truth and goodness and beauty for themselves. And the search and the finding kind of leaves us rejuvenated and more whole. And so leisure, it's not actually a luxury, right? We need leisure. We need leisure because it's all about, as Sister said earlier, it's all about our identity. And Pieper talks about too, it's like leisure is kind of born of this cheerful affirmation by man of his own existence, of the world as a whole and of God, right? And so it's like allowing ourselves to enjoy the life God gives us. And I think it's really important too, maybe Sister Anne can talk about this, but that leisure is actually a virtue And it's opposing a vice is what we call like acedia, or idleness, or sloth, which is related to boredom.
Yeah, and I think, Sister, what you're speaking to is like one kind of form of acedia can be this, what we might think of like couch potato, laziness, but the other form is this frenetic activity, this restlessness that I have to I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to not do something because I don't know who I am. And I'm afraid maybe of even my story, or I'm afraid of what's happening in my heart. And leisure really allows us to taste love in those places of our heart that God really desires to go to. And maybe just to give a quick testimony, I think, Sister Veritas, you live this very beautifully, because a fruit, I think, of leisure is this quality to not rush past the person in front of you. And I think, just to testify to the sister who I'm sitting next to here, I think she has a real gift of receiving you with nowhere else to go. That when you're with her, the experience is that she really has all the time in the world for you. And I know she has a very long to-do list, many, many, many things to do, and meanwhile, when a sister comes to her, she's not rushing. She's willing to be with the other. And I think that's a real fruit of leisure, is that I have the capacity to be, and I don't have to move quickly all the time, and I can receive the gift of the one before me. And I think our culture is hungering for that. Who is not longing to be seen? Which one of us is how often, do we say, gosh, I just feel like nobody knows me, or no one understands me. I don't feel seen or understood. I feel missed. That is just a common human experience. And I think leisure begins to teach us how to regain our sight of one another and our love for one another.
I loved that you shared that about Sister, and just receiving each individual that comes to her with nowhere else to go. And that's such an important message for each of us here today. Can you share any other personal experiences where embracing leisure has helped you to grow closer to God or experience peace?
Definitely. I mean, I just want to witness and testify. And I can just two quick examples, but
okay.
One, back to Sister Ann, but Sister Ann has a profound gift for music and like leading in worship and music. And it's amazing because you like it. Yeah, she likes it. And it's like a gift to her heart, but it actually like profoundly blesses everyone in her radiance, like it's just like, it's like this anointing on everyone around her. And just her love and her kindness that just flow over, it's just in her normal life, but also in her music. And it's like, it's like so amazing how it, even Sister Ann being faithful to leisuring in that way and taking time to like play music and what she loves, literally has blessed our whole house, our whole community here, and like unlocked other people in their hearts and in becoming more alive themselves in their different ways of living leisure. And so it has like this like life generating effect, so I can just testify to that, myself. And I think I've even Sister Ann, just like the inspiration of like just seeing her, take the time to play music and I love to write. I love to do creative writing. And it's like, so I've been doing that more because it's like, there's like almost like a freedom and a gift and a permission. And it's so fruitful. Not just for ourselves, but other people. Yes.
It goes beyond ourselves. And, we're better able, I think, when you said we are our true selves, what we're called to be, to serve the other, whether it be in our family or in our friendships or our community. We're better able to be present for those. Nowhere else to go. I really like that. And some of the titles of your podcasts are The Secret Weapon of the Spiritual Life, which really dives into why you started this series, and then why slowing down matters, how stillness helps us encounter God, and making space for celebration. Talk a little bit about that one. I have not been able to tune into that. So give us a couple of minute spiel on why it's so important to make space for celebration.
That's awesome. Yeah, we love this as Sisters of Life. It's very much a part of our I think the way that we can express an expression of leisure in a way. And I think at the end of the day, it just speaks to the truth that it is good that you are here. And so celebration, I think, is a way that we can affirm, the other person and the goodness of their life simply by being that, it is a joy to live life with you and that you exist, that God delights in you and is pleased that you are here. And we want to celebrate that. We want to find ways to thank God for you. And I think also, celebration also kind of enters into this, really the heavenly feast, which, we're made for, and we're already kind of tasting in this life that heaven is a celebration, the ultimate, form of leisure is worship and, the festivity of heaven. And so to begin to enter into this affirmation of who God is, in gratitude for his being, in gratitude for life, in gratitude for all of creation, it steps into, the ultimate place of leisure, which is receiving the heavenly Jerusalem, receiving the infinite beatitude of God, which we're all made for. And so, it kind of gets us started in a way and allows us to enter into this side of the veil. And so as sisters, we do this through, our birthday celebrations and feast day celebrations. Yes. And in our mission, many people are not celebrated and they don't know the goodness of their life. And so it's a way that we can really begin to love one another intentionally.
Yes, I was going to say you're very intentional about making space for celebration and having the correct posture, or I guess maybe the posture that God intended for us to have here in our earthly pilgrimage, Lord willing, so that we are better suited. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, for our heavenly embrace with him. Wow. Okay. So we have 3 short minutes left. As I told you before we got started with this, I could spend hours just sitting at your feet, talking to the both of you. And this joy that you emanate is so incredibly beautiful. And I'm truly grateful for that. Where can people listen to Let Love and learn more about the Sisters of Life and your mission?
Sure. Great question. To find Let Love, basically, I think every podcast platform should have it. Let Love, a podcast of the Sisters of Life. We do produce the podcast in collaboration with Ascension, which is awesome.
Yes.
So you can also text Let Love, one word, to 33777. So, Let Love to 33777 to sign up for the email list. That's another way to access the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, great. And it's also on the Ascension, I think.
And we have a website, sistersoflife.org as well, if people are interested in just learning more about our community.
Sistersoflife.org. Wonderful. So as we continue through Lent and move into the rest of the year, what is your final piece of advice on embracing leisure and finding God in those moments of rest, sisters?
Yeah, I think we would just want to say again that leisure is for you, and leisure is about letting God love you, to reclaim who you are, that every part of your heart belongs to him. And leisure is a way that we access and unlock this mystery of God's love for us. And it's actually essential to who you are, being human and being in relationship with him. So it's not a luxury. It's really for you. And we want to talk about this with you. That's why we have this podcast. And we're just super excited for you to enter into it with us. And let's just create a revolution in this culture, of leisure and really pushing back against workaholism and the restlessness that production presses upon us. And let's reclaim who we are again as Christians and who we are as human beings, completely loved and infinitely seen by this God, simply because we are.
Yes. Amen. Awesome. Let's create a revolution, not a luxury. It's really for you. What a beautiful and much needed conversation. The Sisters of Life have such a gift for sharing truth with joy, and their Let Love podcast is a testament to that. Their Lenten message of leisure is a powerful reminder that slowing down isn't just a luxury. It's a necessity for our souls to make room. It's a necessity for our souls to make room for God's love. If today's conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to check out their podcast, Let Love. It's filled with wisdom, laughter, and encouragement for the journey. And as we continue through Lent, may we all take the sisters' message to heart, to embrace leisure, not as idleness, but as an invitation to encounter Christ more deeply. Sisters, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the incredible work you do.
Oh, praise Jesus. Ellen, it's a gift to be with you, and no more prayers for you and all your listeners.
Thanks
for having us.
Yes. And to all our listeners, until next time, may you be blessed, and may you let love transform your heart. That's it for this episode of FaithWorks on Divine Mercy Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed any part of our program, you can play this show or our past shows by going to divinemercyradio.org and click on local shows. You can also listen to our radio show and podcast on our free Divine Mercy Radio smartphone app, available via your app store. Simply search Divine Mercy Radio NC. Let's pray for each other. God bless.